Hello, 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 friends. It's Thursday, and yes, this is Mrs. Deveter, and I am so glad to be here this morning. Y'all see my little. We're not gonna talk about them. But y'all, come on in, everybody. Let me know who you are and where you are coming in from. This is about to be one of my uh, favorite lives, one of my lives for the books, one that I'm going to put in my, little what do you call them, my reel, because I have a great guest coming on today, and I really hope that you all will be excited and engage with this conversation that I am about to have with an amazing crochet designer. So come on in, let me know who you are. We have Maria and April, Mary, Rita, Sonata, Chris. Hey, Chris. We have How Crochets, Crafty Bones. What's up, my girl? We have Jen, Caitlin, hello, hello, hello. Come on in, everybody. Come on in. Let me know who you are. I'd love to know where you're coming in from. Are your skies clear today? Because, last week was kind of strange here on the East Coast. Let me see who else we have. Everybody is coming on in. Share this. Let people know that I am live, and we're getting ready to have a really fun conversation. For those of you who have not been on live with me before, I am Mrs. Deveter. I am a crochet lover. I don't know how to do all the things, so I get to talk with designers who do, right? I get to chat it up, get to learn how people got started in their crochet business, where they are now and where they hope to go in the future. And with that, I have an amazing guest today joining me. He is the designer of the amazing vest that is on the cover of the Crochet Foundry magazine for the June issue. And I am so excited that I get to speak with him live on this platform. Please help me welcome Kelly, the cocky crocheter. Come on in the room, Mr. Kelly.
Hello.
Hello, darling. Everybody say hello to Kelly. This is the man who came up with this amazing vest that our very own Harrison is wearing on the cover of the June issue of Crochet Foundry. Hello, 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 Kelly.
Hello, Mrs. Deveter. It's good to see you again. It's been a long time.
I know.
Almost a year, I think.
Isn't that amazing? So
yeah.
Tell the folks where we met.
Okay, so we met last summer in New Orleans, NOLA, best city. And it was at the Crochet Guild of America's Chain Link Conference. They unfortunately didn't have one this year, so I didn't get to go this year, hopefully, next year. But it was my first ever crochet conference, and I got to meet Mrs. Deveter, and I got to meet several people from Furls, and it was just like a blast. It was such a great time. So yeah.
It was amazing. So I saw Kelly sitting on a couch. Like, they had these little sections where people could just sit and relax and crochet and chat and get to know each other. And I saw him, and you all know, I just walked up to him and was like, hey, what you making? Because first of all, I saw cables, and I'm really impressed when I see people making cables in crochet. And I was like, what are you doing? How are you doing that? And what hook is this that you're using? Using a Furls hook. And so it exploded from there. Tell us how you got introduced to Furls.
Okay, so I, a while ago, started kind of designing a couple of my own patterns, not really knowing exactly what I was doing. And it was just like, a lot of fun. And I decided to kind of just like watch some YouTube videos of people making crochet items just to, relax and enjoy. And there were a couple of designers I found, and one in particular, her name is Brianna, and she's from Brianna K Designs. Love her if you don't already know who that is. Yes. And I just reached out to her and was just like, I love your videos and I want to make sweaters, and you make great sweaters. So I would love to get some tips from you. And I did that to a couple of designers, and she was like the only one who actually fully engaged me and actually like had conversations. And I was like, oh my gosh, I can't believe it. So I told her I was going to this conference because I was like, are you going to be going to it? And she was like, no, I'm not, but I know people who are. Would you like me to hook you up with them? And I was like, yeah. Turns out the people she was talking about were the CEO of Furls, the I think communication director of Furls, I'm like, oh, kind of like bigwigs in the industry. Okay, so this not a lot of pressure or anything. So I show up and immediately they were like, oh yeah, we already know who you are and we're already in love. And I was like, okay, yay. And then just from there, I just got swept into this whole world of the Furls girls is what they called themselves. So this is Deveter, Pam, Lorene, Megan, like all the people. I was just like so overwhelmed with like the kindness and the welcome. And I yeah, there we go. That's how I met. Yeah. And yes, Brianna is awesome. Thank you, Chris.
She is amazing. Like her videos, you just watch them and like, wow, you're really, oh, okay. And then I just put my hook down and say, maybe next time, hook.
Yeah.
So sweaters. Why sweaters?
Okay, so one thing is that for a long time I was crocheting flat scarves, blankets, the classics that people tend to make. But my problem is that I don't wear scarves. I live in Oklahoma. It's not cold enough here for me to ever wear scarves. I don't need a bundle around my neck. I throw in a coat or a jacket, maybe some gloves, and I'm fine.
Right.
But I liked making them, so I would make them for other people. And then blankets, I like crochet blankets just fine. But the ones with the designs I liked, they had too many like holes that poked through. So I much preferred things like quilts to actually keep warm. So I was like, these are not things that are practical for me. I don't actually use them once I make them. And I was like, I want to make something that is actually wearable. I didn't think of sweaters because to me, every time I saw a crochet sweater design for a men, they were big, chunky, square, blocky things. And I was like, this is not fun. Like, I don't like the way that this looks. I liked nice sweaters. But then one day, the hand dyer that I would go get yarn from, she asked me to make a sample for her shop. I said, okay, yeah, sure. She said, it'll be a sweater. I was like, oh, okay. So I made a sweater for a mannequin because there was no risk to it. It was actually a pretty nice sweater. And then from there, I was like, I effing love sweaters. And I was like, I can actually wear these. That was what was so great about it. So I then went to make my own and was like, I kind of want to make a design one of myself. So I kind of religiously started watching sweater making videos and started adopting some of their techniques. So people like Brianna, MJ from MJ's Off the Hook, TL Yarn Crafts, things like that. So I was like, these people are the experts and I want to know what they're doing. They're not straight up copy. Obviously, I wouldn't copy their designs. But I was like, I'm learning a lot about like how sweaters are structured. And so I was like, how do I do this for a man? And so now I've made quite a few, although I had to learn along the way. I can't wear any of the ones I used to make because they're too small for me. I gained weight and I didn't understand what ease was. So, thank you, Michi, for subscribing. Yay. Yeah. And so, yeah. And Caitlin, yes. Oh my gosh. Ever since then, I'm like, this is all I want to make. I just want to make sweaters. But one problem is that they take forever. So I'm like, oh my God. So anyway, I'm rambling. I tend to ramble if you can't tell. So yeah. But like design, unlike a lot of people, like I don't really design a lot of small things. And so I don't put out patterns nearly as quickly. So that's one thing that I'm trying to work on is getting the sweaters out in a fairly timely manner and maybe filling it in a few places where I'm like, okay, maybe I'm not making small things, but I've started kind of adopting, like, can I talk about stitch techniques? So those of you who subscribe to my YouTube, I've got a couple of videos on there now. And I was like, just a couple of things that I'm doing in my sweaters. I can just show like a quick stitch thing about that. And so I'm like, I want to get that out there. Anyway, there we go. That answers that question. Why sweaters? Because I will actually wear them unlike literally anything else I crochet.
I love it. No, and first of all, you're not rambling. You're explaining your process and how you do things. And we, that's why we came. We came to have this live to learn a little bit more about your process. Speaking of which, what is your design process? Like, do you make something and then write it down, or do you write it down, then make it? Do you sketch? Like, what's your process?
All right. So my original process was making it and then retroactively trying to design it. Write the pattern. And I didn't, that was like kind of a clunky process, but I really didn't know any other way. Then when I went to the CGOA conference, I took a couple of classes on sweater grading and tech writing, tech editing and things like that. And they were so great. Like loved it. Melissa Liebman and, Emily Ryder, Fiat Fiber. Love both of them. So great. Yeah, just like, but I learned a lot. And so now what I do is I'll come up with an idea, kind of like what is it that I'm wanting to accomplish? I already know kind of like the shape or the silhouette I might want to go with. They're just kind of basic ones. I'm like, do I want this to be top down, bottom up, or things like that? Do I want it to have a tapered waist? Do I want it to have a straight waist? Then I'm like, what kind of design elements do I want in there? Am I wanting cables? Am I wanting texture? Am I wanting color? Am I wanting a design of some sort? Do I want it abstract? Do I want it a little bit more concrete? Do I want it to look flowy? Do I want it to look blocky? So I'll kind of think, how can I accomplish that? And what kind of stitches might I need? So then I'll be like, okay, do I need post stitches? Do I need clusters? Do I need crossing cables? Do I need things like that? Then after a while, I'll take my handy dandy little design book here that I got, was like, this is beautiful. I love working with really beautiful things. And then I just kind of like sketch out ideas in here and then just kind of jot down the notes. And then I start thinking, okay, now that I know what I want it to look like, how do I construct this sweater? And then I sit down and I start figuring out what measurements are going to be. I figure out the standard measurements from the Craft Yarn Council for like the different sizes and get those settled in. I figure out how much ease I want in it, how much, length and how far down the shoulder is going to go, things like that. So I figured all those measurements. Then I take to spreadsheets. Spreadsheets are my best friend. I love spreadsheets. A lot of people hate the math behind designing. It is one of my favorite parts because I love math. Like, it is so much fun to me. So oh, Misha, I just saw your thing about you like seeing other people's wear your things too. I do too. So yeah, sorry, I just had to comment on that. So then the spreadsheets, I get to see like, okay, so now I put in the exact measurements, and do a gauge swatch and all that stuff and figure out, okay, how big do I need to make things, all that stuff. And then I go through and I just start making formulas and I start literally building the sweater in each column. I'm like, starting at the top, what's the neck measurement? How far down does it go to the shoulders? How far down does it go before I split for the yoke? How far are the sleeves? How big is the body? I'm mentally building it in my head and then putting in the measurements as I go. Then I start working on factors and multiples to try to get increasing and decreasing and whole stitches to actually fit in. Yeah. So it's just like, it's a long process, but then by the end, I've written out the entire pattern and then I get to just follow it like another person just wrote the pattern for me and I just go along with it and crochet. Yeah. So I don't even start the sweater now until I've written out the entire pattern.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you find that makes the most sense to you. Now, do you use yourself as your first try, or like where do you start? What's your starting point size wise?
Okay, so I am a 44-inch chest, so I know that I typically will wear a large range according to Craft Yarn Council. And for me, I'm like 46 to 47 inches is about like the amount of ease that I really like in my chest because of like how my shoulders are spread out. So I'll oftentimes start there. Like I'll start with like, how big does the large need to be? Then I scale up, scale down. Most of the time, though, right now, I found people to model my stuff for me because I want to show a variety of body types and men with different heights than me and so on and so forth, and body shapes that are not my own. My husband is usually the first one I kind of go to because I'm wide at the top, narrow at the bottom. He's more like narrower at the top and a little wider at the bottom. So it's interesting kind of like shaping a sweater differently for him than it is for me because technically he wears a medium, but he needs a medium that's a little bit looser at the bottom. So it's kind of cool getting to see all those things. And Caitlin, thank you. I'm so glad I got to inspire you. Yes. Oh, you should totally go finish your sweater whip. I mean, I know it's a pain. Sleeve island, cuffs, all that stuff. Like those are real. I understand them, but I mean, they are so great in the end by the time you're done making them. And yeah, I don't know. Just, what was this? Oh, sizing. Oh, and then a couple of the models that I have, like some of them are like, tall and thin. Some of them are short and stocky. And so I like kind of just like experimenting with, okay, how would I customize this while still writing standard size patterns and then putting the customization tips in the pattern. So then that way I can try to be as inclusive as possible.
Got it. So let's talk a little bit about the vest that you made because we talked sweaters and all that. I'm going to come back to sweaters, but I do want to talk a little bit about this beautiful vest. Tell us the name,
Absolutely.
How you came up with the name, and then talk about the design process for that and those things. Like you have
Absolutely.
all of
Oh,
it.
of course. Yes. Okay. So I was approached by Furls about, well, originally they're wanting me to do one design. Then somebody at Furls saw it and was like, love it. Can you make something for spring? And then, hey, can you make something for summer? I was like, yes. We ended up not going with spring because they have the special plan with it to be like, for the anniversary issue. And so it ended up being a summer one. But regardless, I was like, I need to have a warm weather make. So I thought vest is pretty easy to do because it's sleeveless. It can go over something as a layer. And I thought cotton or linen or something lightweight, pretty standard for summer makes. So I thought vest, cotton, and one thing that I've really been into is I want to push crochet into using thinner yarns.
Mm.
So fingering weight yarns. I haven't explored lace weight yet, but I want to do that eventually. Sport weight. Thickest I'll go for a wearable is going to be DK weight, but only if it's going to be like a heavier thing, because we know crochet is thick and heavy. So
Yeah.
if I want something more lightweight, like a summer vest, then I need to use a lighter weight yarn. So I decided to go with a fingering weight yarn. Then I started thinking structure. And I was like, okay, I wanted to imagine, I'm like, it's summer. I'm thinking what happens in the summer. I'm like, okay, we go to picnics, we go to barbecues, we go to beach parties, we go to yacht parties and things like that. And I'm like, yachts and boats and things like that. I'm like, and then when Furls and I were talking about the yarns and I saw that like kind of lavendery purple one, I was like, purple, royal. Oh my God. They have that like royal regatta race and it's like all springy and people are wearing like their cabled vests and their sweaters and it's all that stuff and their boat shoes. And I'm just like, all of a sudden it came to me. I was like, this is going to be the royal regatta sweater vest. That's what I'm going to call this. And I was like, how do I make it regal? And I was like, I know it's going to involve a cable. So I like looked up cable designs like all over the place and started getting like some inspiration and found kind of like this like kind of twirly, swirly one that you see in the design. It was like, I want to incorporate that into there. But I wanted it to be just one big cable that speaks aloud and draws the eye. And one thing I've really noticed is that anything asymmetrical lately has been drawing a lot of people's attention. So I decided to shift the cable over to the right on the shoulder and was like, there we go. And from there, I started just building it out using the process that I explained earlier. And then we got the lovely sweater vest. Yeah.
It's absolutely beautiful. I'm going to try and see if I can figure out how to show it on the screen
Yes.
so that those people who have not, for whatever crazy reason, haven't purchased their copy of the magazine can see it, because it's just like, it's just beautiful. I just think it is one of the most beautiful things that I've seen in a long time. And you're really inspiring with the way in which you think about the design, right? I
Thank
think that
you.
like really thought about it. You didn't just say, oh, I had this idea, just pulled it out and I'm just going to make this thing. You really thought about it and put legs to it and really made it something absolutely beautiful. What kind of yarn did you use for this?
It was the Lion brand, and it's the Pearl. It's spelled Perle. I think it's the 5-2 cotton or 5-4 cotton. There's like a 10-2 and a 5. I'm just gonna be real. I don't understand what that really means. I just knew that like
I don't understand.
It was a fingering weight cotton, and it came in a cone that was like a pound, and I was like, that's a lot of yarn. What was great about it is that it only took me one cone and I still had leftover to make the size large. And even the larger sizes, the most you would need, even for a 5X, was 2 cones of this fingering weight yarn. So it was like, I thought that worked on it. Now, granted, if you made sleeves with it and made it into an actual sweater, probably going to need a 3rd cone, but there's a lot of yarn on that. And it's a mercerized cotton. So it's very smooth, easy to use. Oh, look, there it is. Yep.
I did it.
Yay.
Look at this. Can we talk about okay, so how did you come up with the design of like the diamonds and then the looks like leaves and like, I mean,
to be honest, a lot of that was just me seeing cables in books and other things and kind of piecing together ones that I liked and being like, okay, this one uses this V design. This one uses these kind of clusters that I really like. Put them together. Let's make a cable out of that. And then I had to adjust the cable because the extra small to, I think, the large needed like a certain amount of width. But then in order for it to still look good for like the 1X up to 5X, I wanted to widen it. So then that way it wasn't just this like narrow strip on the shoulder. So I had to adjust the math for that as well.
Man. And so this is a single crochet?
The main background, yes, is single crochet. And then the stitches are just front post double crochets. And then the clusters are front post clusters made with double crochets. And then the ribbing is actually where a lot of people had like my testers had some trouble, because the ribbing, it looks supposed to look like a 2x2 ribbing. I'll be honest, I stole that idea from watching MJ's Off the Hook and her pumpkin designs, because she used a linked slip stitch. And I was like, that is so beautiful. It looks exactly like 2x2 ribbing. And so I asked her, I was like, can I use this as ribbing in my design? Because I didn't want her to think I was, like stealing this. She said, absolutely. It's not her. She was like, I didn't invent the stitch. She's like, so yeah, go for it. It's a great stitch. And I was like, yes, thank you so much. So I straight up went in and was like, we are going to do a 2x2 rib in a crochet pattern. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Chris.
Beautiful. Like stunning. And I'm just, for the sake of this live, I'm going to go ahead and show you all the cover with the fabulous Harrison wearing this beautiful make. Look at this, y'all. Like, it looks regal. Like, it looks, you know what I mean? Like, you could see someone, a CEO, a company owner, walking through the halls of their office in July with this amazing vest on. Really, really nice work. Really, really nice work.
Thank you.
Wanted to make sure that everybody saw that. For those of you who have not purchased your edition of this magazine, what are you waiting for? Like, what are you waiting for? You need to just go ahead on to crochetfoundry.com and get your edition of this beautiful magazine. So before my friends joined the live, we were chatting a little bit, and you said that this is your full-time job now. What were you doing before?
As of about 3 or 4 weeks ago, I finished up my 13th year as a middle school math teacher. So hence why I probably love all the math. It was a very fulfilling career, but I could definitely tell after kind of like getting into the fiber arts and things like that, and just like having done it for 13 years, I was like, I'm kind of ready for a change. And last year was seriously the best I could have ever asked for. Like, the kids were great. My staff was great. Like, my colleagues, like, we had hired a couple of new people and they were wonderful. And I still just felt like, even with how great the year was going, I was like, I could tell I'm ready to be out of this. So yeah, that's why I switched to this. So now I'm doing this full time. Well, mostly full time. I'm trying to transition into it full time. I also Uber drive on the side just to kind of like make a little bit extra cash. And then I also work part time as a crochet lesson teacher, tutorial person. I don't know, at a local yarn shop here in Oklahoma City. So yeah,
I love this. So there are a lot of people here who can identify with, making crochet your full-time business. And I'm sure that there are plenty of them who have great advice for you. So I encourage you guys who are full-time crocheters, if you have any advice for Kelly, put it in the comments section so that we can share it with him, how he can really make this his career. I think definitely doing the tutorials, building up your YouTube channel, selling those patterns, like, even like,
please buy my patterns. There's not many of them right now, but yeah.
Buy his patterns. So your website is what? Let the folks know.
It is Cocky Crocheter, all one word, just like what you see on the screen here, .com. That's it. It's a very basic commerce website, so don't expect a bunch of bells and whistles, but you are able to easily browse through the patterns. I have a couple of pay what you want ones on there, so like they're free, but if you want to support my business, you can feel free to also just like pay me however much you want to. Kind of very similar to how like Tony from TL Yarn Crafts has her buy me a coffee thing. I'm like, I'd rather you buy a pattern. So nothing against that. I'm all about that. Like, such a smart idea. I'm like, yes, I would love it if people just bought me coffees, but I also want you to have a good pattern with it, so you can do that as well. And then I also sell on Ravelry. So if you find my designs on Ravelry, it's also under Cocky Crocheter. I also, where else? If you check like my Instagram shop, it's technically connected, but it only shows the 3 patterns that are not the pay what you want ones. It only shows the actual, and like it makes it look like I have nothing. And I'm like, I have a little more than that. Now, granted, I don't have hundreds of patterns yet, but that's going to take some time because again, sweaters take forever.
Yeah. How long would you say a sweater takes to make?
It takes me about a month to a month and a half to make one full sweater. If I'm including the design and idea process, anywhere from 2 to 2.5 months. Cause like I need to swatch, I need to wash, I need to procure the yarn. I need to decide like what kind of hook I'm going to use. Wait for yarn to ship if it's needing to be delivered to me. But then the actual sitting and designing, like the actual making process, yeah, month and a half. If it's with the fingering weight yarns, definitely a month and a half. If it's with DK, month. Yeah.
Wow.
And thank you. By the way, I want to respond to like all the comments because so many people are saying some like great things, like asking questions and whatnot. So I'm like, oh yes, that's yeah. And like I saw there's a kindergarten teacher, nurse who wishes that she could crochet all day. I think a former student of mine maybe just said like I was a great math teacher. I'm like, yay, thank you. Yeah.
That's awesome. Here we go.
Yeah.
Kindergarten teacher.
Mm-hmm.
Lots of teachers here. And I guess, yeah. We do what we got to do in order to keep the time and keep doing what we love. I love that one of your students is here.
Yes.
Super cool.
Hey, noob gamer. I don't know which one that specifically is. Don't say it just because we don't want to violate any kind of FERPA laws or anything like that. No. So don't say who you are. But you can always message me privately, like on Instagram or something, if you follow me there and let me know. Hey, I saw your live, and I'll be like, yay! I'm so glad I got to shout you out. Yeah.
Yeah, there are lots of great comments here. Great design, lovely vest. It's sophisticated. Love it. Stunning design. It's very cool looking.
Thank you.
Stunning. It's gorgeous. So yes, you are in the right field. You are doing the right thing, and we encourage you to keep pushing, to keep going. We know that it takes time, and it is a labor of love. Crocheting is a labor of love because it literally. It's your hands, your brain, as a designer. Like, you guys are amazing. You always impress me with the things that you guys are able to accomplish with string and a hook.
Yes.
It's literally string and a hook. And then you come with this fabulous wearable items. So keep pushing, keep doing what you're doing. You are definitely in with the greatest crochet group of folks with Furls Crochet and Crochet Foundry. So you have landed, in a safe space, and we are all here to continue to cheer you on and push you on. And we're going to give away a magazine today. So,
yay! Oh my God, it's so exciting for you all.
Yes, we're going to give away a magazine to someone who, okay, so I always get fussed at when I ask folks to find an emoji because there are just so many cute emojis. I know for sure that there is a sweater emoji. So you can either type sweater or share a sweater emoji in the comment section starting now. And then we're going to scroll and select a winner of this June edition of the Crochet Foundry magazine. Start now, y'all. Go on and put in the sweater, the word sweater or the sweater emoji.
That's a cute sweater emoji. Oh, it's pink. How nice a sweater, yes.
Yeah, I love that so many folks are on with us today and that you all have been introduced to this amazing designer. Please make sure you go follow him on YouTube. Go check out his website and friend him on Instagram, all that stuff, and buy his patterns because he needs your support. And tell people about him. Share this video after it's done. Make sure you share this video on your platforms. And Kelly, definitely share this on your platform so that folks know you were on with Mrs. Deveter. And we have
Absolutely, yes. Oh, this was a great time. Wait, are we ending the interview soon? I'm assuming. Because it's only 30 minutes. Oh my God, how does the time pass? I talk too much, that's why.
No, you talk the perfect amount. I love having interviews with folks who just keep talking, and I'm just like, oh, wow, That's awesome. Okay, so I do have one other question. So
Yes.
people who know me, who watch my lives, know I don't gauge swatch, but whatever. I know for sweaters you need to gauge swatch. Do you already have a hook size in mind when you design a sweater, or do you truly use the gauge swatch as, what you're
Okay,
gonna?
so I usually have a range of hook sizes that I know that I'm going to want to use. So, and I'll try to match it to the yarn weight. And I'm like, so if it's a fingering weight, I know I'm probably going to need somewhere from a size B hook. So that's a 2.25 millimeter up to, but really no bigger than a size E, 3.5 millimeter, depending on how tightly or loosely I want the stitches. And if the wraps per inch, which gets complicated, are on the thinner side of a fingering weight or a thicker side of a fingering weight. So for instance, I have
Wait a minute. What is wraps per inch? What is that?
Okay, all right. So if you ever take yarn,
Yeah.
and even if it says it's a fingering weight, you can take it and you wrap it next to each other without stretching or anything like that, and find how many times does it take to wrap it in the space of 1 inch. And if there's more wraps per inch, it's a thinner yarn because it takes more of them to fill in the space. So there might be a fingering weight that's like 19 wraps per inch, but another one that's 21 wraps per inch. And you wouldn't think that would make a huge difference, but that extra 21 wraps per inch is going to fill in the space a lot smaller than the 19 wraps per inch. So sometimes when people have trouble matching gauge, that's one of the reasons why they're like, I got a worsted weight yarn, like the pattern says. That happened to me, but the worsted weight I was using was on a much thinner side than the heavier worsted weight that somebody else's pattern was using. So I was up to like a size K hook trying to match this person's gauge. And I was like, how did they use an H hook on this?
Right.
I'm up like 3 or 4 hook sizes and it's not working because of the difference in the wraps per inch.
Wow.
Yeah.
I don't know about y'all, but I ain't never heard of that before. And that was some good learning.
Yeah.
Wraps per inch.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. Somebody has a question. There's a chart online that will tell you what size it is. Wraps per inch, very helpful if you don't have your yarn tag. I never heard about that. I mean, maybe because I don't make garments for real. So
Right.
I wouldn't know about that, but that's really interesting stuff. Thank you for sharing that.
Of course. Yes, absolutely.
Gauge is important. Yeah.
And that's a math teacher. Yes, that is a math teacher thing.
For sure. It pays to have a math teacher on your speed dial, y'all. So, he can help you out. So I'm sure.
No, I don't teach math anymore. I got out of that.
Listen, doesn't matter. Ingrained in you. You love the math. And you can help us quickly. Like, Kelly, I don't understand this calculation on this pattern. Help me.
There actually was a tester who she was like, I'm really having a hard time matching the gauge in your pattern. She could match like a certain like width. So eventually what I ended up doing is I was like, here's what you're going to do. Use the gauge that you have. I'm just going to recalculate the proportions so that they're at least the same. So I went ahead and did that and said, you need to do this increased pattern. You need to do this many stitches and see if that comes out to the right size as if it were the same gauge as what you're using now. So did that. And she said, oh my God, it actually worked out really perfect. It was like, there we go. See, I do use math a lot in my real world life. And it required things like ratios and proportions. And I was like, I couldn't stress enough to some of my students. I was like, you don't understand how important some of these things actually are to know how to do. And it is not easy, but you eventually can, do it if you know what you're doing. Yeah.
Well, thank you, Kelly. We appreciate that. Math matters, everyone. We all don't love it as much as Kelly does, but math. All right. I am going to do a good scroll and see who we are. Oh, hold on. Who?
I don't know if you can hear it, but I'm doing a drum roll.
I hear you. So you tell me when to stop and I will put somebody's name. I'm ready. Whenever you are.
Ready.
Hello. You are the winner of a Crochet Foundry magazine. Please email support@crochetfoundry.com. And in the subject, put winner and today's date, which is 8/15, and they will send you a magazine. So congratulations to you.
Yay! Addie Geese?
Yeah. I wasn't even
going
to try. I wasn't even going to try. But I am going to write it down.
I love that like Addie literally also just asked a question for any tips on figuring out what hook size to get from furls if you only used a tapered hook. I'm a tapered hook user myself. Like I started with the boy hooks. So my thing is I really love the Odyssey hooks because they have that kind of like hybrid style. I will say they're a little pointier than the tapered ones, so they can kind of sometimes snag if you're not used to it. But once you get used to that, it's pretty much the same as working with a boy hook. And then I really have been enjoying using the wood hooks, and I didn't think I would like them nearly as much, but they actually work really nice and they make a good sound as I'm working with them. Anyway, that's my tip. So size wise, they're the same. So like the millimeters and all of that are going to be exactly the same. But if you're looking for like the tapered kind of shape, I would say the Odyssey is probably going to be your best bet, which unfortunately is always the one that's sold out all the time because they're so popular. But yeah, there they are. Yeah. Yeah. But if they're out of the Odysseys, I would say the wood hooks are probably a good one as well.
Let's see if I can find a wood hook.
If not, I've got some right here.
Wood hooks.
Yeah, here's like the. Sorry, wrong one. So there's like the silver oak one.
Yes.
And you got like the teak wood. And then of course those dark wood people. You got the ebony. Yep.
Love ebonies. Yeah. The one caveat I would give is if you're going to use a thicker yarn, be very careful of the size of the hook you use. I would never use a worsted weight yarn with this hook. Never, ever, 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 because it will snap. So you want to be really mindful of the type of yarn you're using when you're using wood hooks. Just FYI. Yeah. Oh my goodness, Kelly, this has been so much fun. It has been a wonderful conversation.
Thank you.
Yeah, welcome. We are looking forward to all your patterns that are going to be coming up in future issues of Furls Crochet. Oh, I keep saying Furls Crochet.
Yeah.
Crochet Foundry magazine. Folks are now following you on YouTube, and I'm sure they're going to be.
I've been getting all the notifications.
Yes. So you have some new friends, some new folks in your sphere. And we know that you're going to continue to do amazing, amazing things. Thank you again for scheduling this time with me. I am so excited we were able to chat again.
Thank you. Me too. I was glad to get to do this. Well, I will see you all on my YouTube, on my Instagram, and, checking out all my stuff. And I will continue to, of course, update you anytime I pop out a new pattern. I've got one that's really close for me to be able to at least reveal and say it's going to be in the testing phase, but got to get it finished first. I ran into a hiccup with it and was like, this is why I like to write the pattern out first, because then if I follow it and find a mistake, I can go back and just fix that part pretty easily rather than just like going through anyway. But yeah, all right, yay. Well, this was great. Thank you so much, Mrs. Deveter. You have a wonderful day, and everybody else, thank you for chiming in.
Yay!
Oh, Addie just asked who does she email for the.
I was just getting ready to tell her. So you want to email support@crochetfoundry.com. Email support@crochetfoundry.com, and you can put in a subject line, today's date, winner, and you want to put your address, your email address in the subject, in the body of the email, so that they know where to send your copy of the magazine to. All right. Thank you again, Kelly. Thanks everybody for hanging out with us. I will see you all next time. Oh my goodness, y'all. It is birthday month for Furls and for Crochet Foundry. So make sure you sign into the live on the 22nd. That's next week. There's going to be a birthday live. So make sure you come and hang out with the ladies for a fun time. I know there's going to be crazy giveaways and all kinds of fun stuff that Pam and Lorraine and probably Victoria and maybe Harrison might drop by. Who knows? But I know it's going to be so much fun. So make sure on the 22nd, you come to the Furls birthday party. All right, Kelly, make sure you. All right.
I will be there. Yes.
Right, wonderful. Have a good one, friends. Bye.
Bye.
I said bye. Didn't want to let me go. But now I'm going bye. Bye, y'all.